Hi, my name is Jake McAllister. I'm 35 years old, and today I am going to share a story that changed my life forever. A story about loyalty, betrayal, and fighting back when everything you love is taken from you. I grew up on a ranch where my horse wasn't just a companion. He was family, my freedom, and my future all rolled into one. But when my family sold him behind my back to pay off my sister's crushing debt, everything I believed in came crashing down. You see, this wasn't just about a horse. It was about trust broken, dreams shattered, and a fight for my own dignity. I had to decide, do I accept this loss, or do I stand up and prove that no one, not even family, can take away my spirit? What would you do if the people closest to you betrayed you for someone else's mistakes? Would you fight back or walk away? Stay with me, because this is more than a story about cowboys and horses. It's about resilience, courage, and the lengths we go to reclaim what's rightfully ours. By the end of this video, you'll see why sometimes the hardest battles bring the greatest victories. Are you ready to ride this journey with me? Hi, Jake McAllister here. Growing up on a ranch shaped everything I am today. My horse, a beautiful chestnut named Thunder, wasn't just an animal to me. He was my closest friend, my escape, and a symbol of everything my family worked so hard to build. Every sunrise, I'd saddle up and ride through the open fields, feeling the wind and freedom only a cowboy knows. Thunder was by my side through thick and thin, and together we faced every challenge the land threw at us. That bond was unbreakable, or so I thought. Life on the ranch wasn't always easy, but it was simple and honest. We lived by hard work, respect, and loyalty, values passed down from generations before me. The ranch was more than just land. It was a legacy that connected my family to the spirit of the West. It was a place where stories were made and memories carved into the earth. With every hoofbeat and every dawn, my connection with Thunder deepened. It felt like he carried a part of my soul with him across those endless pastures. I remember the way the sun painted the horizon during those quiet evenings, when Thunder and I would just stand still, soaking in the vastness around us. It was in those moments I felt truly free, away from any troubles or worries. But as much as the ranch gave me strength, it also made me fiercely protective. Thunder wasn't just a horse. He was my future, my hope. And losing him would be like losing a piece of myself. I never imagined that piece would be taken from me without warning. The bond we shared taught me lessons no book ever could. Loyalty, courage, and a quiet determination to keep going no matter what. Every ride was a reminder of the hard work and the freedom that came with it. Thunder was my partner in a world that didn't always understand the weight of a cowboy's life. He was more than a horse. He was a promise that no matter the storm, I could endure and overcome. And for a long time, that promise felt unbreakable. But then, everything started to change. I didn't see it coming. The pressure building quietly behind closed doors, the family secrets that weighed heavier than any saddlebag. Thunder, my steadfast companion, suddenly felt like he was slipping away before I even realized it. That simple ranch life I loved so much was about to be shaken to its core. I would soon face a decision that no cowboy ever wants to make, a betrayal that cuts deeper than any blade. It's funny how life throws curveballs when you least expect them. One day you're riding free across golden fields, and the next, you're caught in the crossfire of debts and family debts you never imagined would touch your own life. But that is the story I am living, and it is a story I am determined to tell. Because it's not just about what was taken, it's about how I found the strength to fight back and reclaim what's mine. The ranch taught me to never back down, no matter how tough the road gets. And now, standing on that very ground where Thunder once ran free, I'm ready to face the battle ahead. This isn't just a fight for a horse. It's a fight for honor, for respect, and for the future I refuse to lose. The question is, how do you fight when the ones you love are the ones standing in your way? And that's where the real story begins. The story of debts, decisions, and the family ties that bind us for better or worse. What happens when the foundation beneath you starts to crack? Stay with me, because the next chapter is about to reveal just how far I had to go to protect what was left of my world. The cracks in our family started showing when my sister, Emily, began piling up debts I never saw coming. At first, it was little things, missed payments, calls I ignored, but soon it snowballed into something no one could hide. The ranch, our livelihood, was suddenly tangled in her mistakes. Watching her struggle, I felt torn between helping her and protecting what was ours. It was a heavy burden, one that weighed down the very air we breathed. Family pressure grew fast and fierce. Everyone wanted a quick fix, and the blame started circling like vultures. I could see the desperation in their eyes, the panic that pushed decisions they wouldn't have made otherwise. The ranch wasn't just a home anymore. It was a resource, a last resort. And my sister's debt was the storm threatening to drown everything. The silence between us became louder, the trust fading with each passing day. At night, I'd lie awake wondering how things spiraled so far out of control. How did debts pile up so high without anyone stepping in? The unanswered questions burned in my mind, but one truth was clear. If this kept going, the ranch and everything I held dear would be lost. It wasn't just numbers on a ledger. It was my legacy, my dream slipping through my fingers. I felt powerless, but knew I couldn't stay silent. The tension at family meetings grew unbearable. Everyone whispered, pointing fingers, searching for a scapegoat. Emily's shame was palpable, but her debts remained, dragging us all down. I saw fear in my parents' eyes, fear of losing the ranch, fear of breaking apart what little family unity we had left. It was a delicate balance on a knife's edge, and any wrong move could shatter it completely. I tried talking to Emily, hoping to find a way out together, but she was distant and guarded. The burden of her mistakes weighed heavy on her soul, and her silence became a wall between us. It was frustrating and heartbreaking, feeling both helpless and responsible. The sister I knew was slipping away, replaced by someone lost in a sea of debts and regrets. It was a battle that wasn't just financial. It was emotional and deeply personal. Everyone seemed ready to sacrifice anything to fix the problem fast. The urgency made decisions reckless. The family's unity was tested in ways I never imagined. The ranch, which once symbolized strength and tradition, was now the prize on the table. And I feared the cost would be more than just money. It would be the bonds that held us together. Watching it unravel felt like standing on a sinking ship, desperate to save what could be saved. But amid the chaos, I knew I couldn't let the storm drown me. I had to find a way to fight back, to protect what was mine and what Thunder represented. It was more than a horse, and it was my future, my identity, my hope. And if that meant standing up against my own family, then so be it. The fight was coming, and I needed to be ready. What I didn't realize then was how deep this battle would go, how many wounds it would open, and how much I'd have to risk to win. But the next step was clear. A decision that would change everything, a betrayal I never saw coming. Hold tight, because the story is far from over. The day I found out my family had sold Thunder without telling me felt like a punch to the gut. I was out working the fields when my dad's friend rode up with a strange look in his eyes. He said the horse was gone, sold off to cover Emily's debts. At that moment, the ground beneath me seemed to shift, and everything I trusted started to crumble. How could they make such a decision without even talking to me? It wasn't just the loss of Thunder, it was the betrayal that cut the deepest. The horse wasn't just property, he was a living symbol of my bond to the land and to my family's history. To have that ripped away felt like losing a part of myself. I kept replaying every moment, wondering if I had missed signs or could have stopped it. The silence from my family felt heavier than any words could be. My anger burned hot, but so did my confusion. Why would they prioritize Emily's debts over my years of hard work and sacrifice? The ranch was meant to be our legacy, something that would hold us together, not tear us apart. But there I was, left with empty pastures and broken promises. It was a crossroads moment. Accept the loss quietly or fight back with everything I had. I knew if I stayed silent, I'd lose more than just a horse. I'd lose my voice, my pride, and my future. That fire inside me started growing, fueled by every unfair word and every secret kept. I began planning, thinking about how to reclaim what was mine and prove that loyalty runs deeper than debts. This wasn't just about Thunder anymore. It was about standing tall against everything trying to break me. The look in my family's eyes when I confronted them was a mix of regret and stubbornness. They thought they were doing what was necessary, but they didn't understand what they had taken from me. Our conversations were tense and raw, emotions flaring like wildfire. Each word felt like a battle, But I refused to back down. I had to make them see that this wasn't just a horse, it was my life. Even in the darkest moments, I clung to the memories Thunder and I shared, the early morning rides, the quiet sunsets, the feeling of freedom that no one else could replace. Those memories were my strength, my reminder that giving up wasn't an option. The ranch was my home and Thunder was part of that soul. Losing him was a challenge I was determined to overcome. What followed was a storm of emotions and plans, a fight that would test my resolve like never before. I was ready to stand up for what was mine, no matter the cost. But the road ahead was uncertain, and the stakes were higher than I'd ever imagined. This was only the beginning of a battle for justice, respect, and my future. And the next chapter? Well, it is about more than just family drama. It is about finding the strength to rise when everything falls apart. Stick around because the fight is about to get real. Losing Thunder hit me harder than I ever expected. That horse wasn't just part of the ranch, he was part of me. At first, the shock left me numb, like I was watching my life unravel in slow motion. The empty corral was a daily reminder of what was taken from me, and every step I took felt heavier. But beneath that pain, a fire started to grow, a fire fueled by a determination not to be defeated by betrayal. I wrestled with a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. How could the people I trusted most make such a choice without even telling me? The feeling of loss went beyond the physical. It was the shattering of trust and the breaking of family bonds. But as the days passed, I realized that giving up wasn't an option. If I let this break me, then everything I stood for would be lost. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this be the end of my story. The fight inside me grew stronger with every sunrise. I started planning, thinking of ways to reclaim my honor, my horse, and my future. It wasn't going to be easy. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges I hadn't faced before, but I was ready to fight back, not just for Thunder, but for everything that mattered. That moment marked a turning point. I wasn't just a rancher anymore. I was a man on a mission. I reached out to old friends, sought advice from mentors who understood the weight of what I was going through. I knew I couldn't do this alone. The fight was bigger than me, and I needed allies who believed in justice and loyalty as much as I did. At times, doubt crept in. The pain of betrayal cut deep, and the thought of losing everything was terrifying. But every memory of Thunder reminded me why I had to keep pushing. The early morning rides, the quiet companionship, the sense of freedom he gave me. Those were worth fighting for. I realized that resilience was the only way forward. The days turned into weeks, and with every step I grew more determined. I wasn't just trying to get my horse back. I was reclaiming my identity and standing up to the unfairness that threatened to swallow me whole. The fight was as much about healing as it was about justice. The path ahead was rough and uncertain, but the choice was clear. I could either let the pain consume me, or let it fuel the fire to reclaim my life. I chose to fight, and that fight was only just beginning. And the story? It is about the alliances I had to forge and the help I sought in a town where friends and mentors became my lifeline. Stick around, the journey is far from over. When I realized I couldn't face this battle alone, I started reaching out to people who might stand by me. Friends from rodeos, old mentors who'd been through tougher times, and even some respected figures in town who knew the meaning of loyalty and hard work. It wasn't easy asking for help. Cowboy pride runs deep, but this fight demanded more than pride. It demanded strength in numbers. My first ally was old Hank, a grizzled cowboy who'd been like a second father to me. He understood the weight of losing something precious and the fire it ignited inside. Hank offered not just advice, but a steady hand and unwavering support. Together, we began plotting how to face the family storm brewing back home. His experience in dealing with hard family troubles was a beacon in my darkening world. Next came Sarah, a savvy businesswoman who'd grown up around the ranching community. She helped me see the bigger picture, that this wasn't just about a horse or a debt, but about protecting my future and the legacy of the land. Sarah's sharp mind and connections in town opened doors I didn't even know existed. Her faith in me fueled my determination even more. Building this team wasn't just about strategy. It was about finding people who believed in the same fight, who understood the stakes. Together, we crafted plans to confront the family, to challenge decisions that had been made without me, and to find ways to reclaim what was lost. Every conversation strengthened my resolve and reminded me I wasn't alone in this battle. But gaining allies meant opening up, sharing my pain and vulnerability, something that's not easy for a cowboy. Trust had to be rebuilt slowly, but the support I found made the burden lighter. It was clear that this fight wasn't just mine. It was a fight for justice and respect that resonated beyond the ranch. As the days passed, I realized that this fight required not only strength but wisdom. The people I trusted became my guiding lights, offering perspectives I hadn't considered. They pushed me to think bigger, plan smarter, and prepare for the tough road ahead. The bonds I formed were more than just alliances. They were lifelines in a storm. Each person brought a unique strength, and together, we were preparing for the confrontation that could change everything. My heart grew heavier with every step, but so did my determination to win. What comes next is the face-off with my own family, the emotional and fierce battle to reclaim what is rightfully mine. Stay tuned, because this is where the real fight begins. The moment came when I had to face my family, the people I thought I could trust above all else. Walking into that room was like stepping into a storm of emotions. Eyes full of regret, anger, and disappointment met mine, but I was ready. I knew this confrontation would test everything, our bonds, our patience, and my own resolve. Words flew back and forth, heavy with years of pain and frustration. I told them how selling Thunder without my permission wasn't just a financial decision, it was a betrayal of trust. I shared the heartbreak of losing my closest companion and how that loss rippled through every part of my life. It wasn't easy to lay my feelings bare, but I had to make them understand what they had done. They argued it was necessary to save the family from sinking deeper into debt, but I wasn't about to let that justification erase the damage they'd caused. I reminded them that family isn't just about sacrifice, it's about respect and communication. Decisions like this should have been made together, not behind my back. The tension in the room thickened as emotions ran high. Throughout the talks I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Anger because of the betrayal, sadness for how far we'd drifted. But beneath that, a flicker of hope remained. I believed that even in brokenness, there's a chance to rebuild. The question was whether they were willing to meet me halfway, or if the divide was too wide. My determination never wavered. I stood firm, knowing that if I gave up, I'd lose not just Thunder, but the last pieces of my dignity and future. I was ready to fight, not just for a horse, but for the respect and unity that family is supposed to stand for. This was a battle of hearts as much as it was of wills. Despite the sharp words and harsh truths, the confrontation opened doors for honest talks that hadn't happened in years. It was painful but necessary, like breaking ground for new growth. I could see in some eyes a spark of understanding, even if it was buried beneath layers of hurt. But this fight wasn't over. There were still battles ahead, battles on the ranch, in rodeos, and within myself. The journey to reclaim what was lost was just beginning. And the story? Well, it's about how I used every ounce of cowboy grit to face those challenges head-on. Stay tuned, because the real test is on its way. Life after the confrontation was no easy road. I knew that to reclaim what was mine, I had to prove myself all over again, not just to my family, but to myself. So I threw myself into the grind, rodeos, long days on the ranch, and every tough task that tested my strength and spirit. Each sunrise brought a new chance to show that I wasn't beaten. Rodeos became my battlefield, a place where I could channel my frustration and turn it into determination. The roar of the crowd, the thundering hooves, and the fight to hold on felt like a metaphor for everything I was battling in life. Every ride was more than a competition. It was a statement that I was still standing, still fighting. The ranch work kept me grounded. Mending fences, tending cattle, and working the fields reminded me of where I came from and what I was fighting for. It was hard, exhausting work, but each sweat-drenched day was a step toward rebuilding not just the ranch, but my own spirit. I found strength in the routine and purpose in the effort. Friends and allies who believed in me showed up during those tough days, cheering me on and lending a hand when I needed it most. Their support was a reminder that I wasn't alone and that the fight was about more than just me. It was about community, loyalty, and standing up for what's right. Every challenge, every setback only fueled my resolve. There were moments when doubt crept in, when the weight of it all felt crushing. But remembering Thunder, the ranch, and my family's legacy pushed me to keep going. I wasn't just fighting for the past. I was fighting for a future that I could be proud of. The hard work paid off in small victories, rides won, debts managed, fences rebuilt. Each success was a beacon of hope, a sign that I was reclaiming my life piece by piece. It was a reminder that cowboy spirit isn't about never falling, it's about always getting back up. But even as I made progress, I knew the biggest test was yet to come. The final victory wasn't just about money or land, it was about reclaiming my honor, my horse, and the future I'd fought so hard to protect. The journey was far from over. Hold tight, because the climax of this story is just ahead, a victory that would change everything. After months of grinding through rodeos, working the ranch, and facing down every challenge, the moment of truth finally arrived. Reclaiming Thunder wasn't just a victory over debt, it was a triumph of spirit, heart, and sheer willpower. Standing there, seeing him again after so long, I felt a flood of emotions, relief, pride, and a deep sense of homecoming. It was more than a horse returning, it was a piece of my soul restored. The road to that day wasn't easy. It meant tough conversations, legal battles, and relentless determination. But through every obstacle, I learned what true resilience means. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for the legacy of my family and the land that raised me. That fight showed me who I truly am. A cowboy who refuses to quit, no matter the odds. Rebuilding trust with my family was another battle altogether. Time and honesty began to heal wounds that felt impossible to mend. Slowly, bridges were rebuilt on shared respect and understanding. The experience forged new bonds, deeper and stronger than before. We were no longer just bound by blood, but by the struggles we overcame together. With Thunder back by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next. The ranch was alive again, humming with the promise of a new chapter. The sunsets seemed brighter, the work lighter, and the future full of possibilities. I wasn't just a man who lost his horse. I was a man who fought to get it back, and in doing so found himself. That victory wasn't just about reclaiming what was lost. It was about standing tall against adversity and proving that no matter how dark the storm, the cowboy spirit endures. Every scratch, every scar, every hard lesson shaped me into someone stronger, more determined, and more alive than ever. Now, when I ride Thunder across those open fields, I carry not just memories, but hope. Hope for the future, for my family, and for anyone who's ever faced a fight that seemed impossible. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: the greatest victories come to those who refuse to give up. And that is the story of how I proved them all wrong, how I stood my ground and fought with everything I had. Thanks for riding this journey with me. Remember, no matter the challenge, your spirit is stronger than you think. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this story. If you enjoyed hearing about my journey and the fight to reclaim what's mine, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more cowboy stories coming your way. Stories of grit, heart, and the wild spirit of the West. Your support means the world and helps keep these stories alive. So don't miss out. Join the ride, and I promise to bring you more true tales from the ranch. Until next time, keep your boots dusty and your spirit strong.